everyone. My name is Lauren, and I'm an Enterprise Customer Success Manager with Jotform. Welcome to another installment of our Lunch and Learn series. I'm so happy you've chosen to join us today because this one is going to be both informative and fun. I mean, which Lunch and Learn isn't? But back to what I was saying, today we'll be going back to the basics and chatting about the star of our show here at Jotform Enterprise, our form builder. The form builder has many different features, and I promise we'll get to all of them during this Lunch and Learn season over the next few months. Today, though, will just be part one, and we'll be starting with establishing the base level knowledge of everything you need to know when getting started on form building. Whether you're a seasoned form builder or just starting out, our form builder tool is dynamic and versatile, and I definitely recommend staying tuned to learn something new or discover ways you can expand your current knowledge and experience. As per usual, we're going to be covering a lot in this session, so it will be recorded and posted on the channel for future viewing. Also, we'll reserve some time towards the end of the presentation for questions. One last thing before we get fully started, I just wanted to let you know that the enterprise server we're working in today is not HIPAA or Jotform government enabled. While our form builder tool is going to be the same across these servers, there may be some additional considerations required based on the individual compliance type. If you have any specific questions regarding your own server's compliance and utilizing the form builder tool, please contact our support team for further assistance. But for now, let's jump in. I often get asked what my favorite feature of Jotform is, and while there's so many to choose from, it's hard to not completely rave about the form builder. In my time at Jotform, I have seen this singular tool be used in a variety of different organizations in various fields of business and for so many unique use cases. For example, the same tool that a large company is using for its job applications with resume and cover letter collection could also be used by a nonprofit organization for volunteer registration. And that same tool could even be used by an educational institution for managing student evaluations and so many more. Breaking these types of forms down, they are all made of a combination of form elements and settings. In this session and our sessions to come, we will be going through each piece of the form builder tool, starting with the basics. From the moment you click create on the My Workspace screen to actually determining what information you're collecting and adding these fields to the form itself. Along the way, I'll also be sharing tips and tricks to optimize the way you can use these fields to their full potential. So without further ado, let's hop into the system so we can take a look at the beginnings of the form building process, starting with the very first choice we make, how we want to get started on creating our form. When logging into your Jotform Enterprise server, you'll immediately be brought to the My Workspace screen. This is the hub for all of the assets you can create within Jotform, whether it's a form, app, table, workflow, signed document, or report. It can all be done by clicking on this Create button up here in the top left-hand corner. As I mentioned, we can create any asset from this single button, but today we'll be focusing on form building, of course. When we select Form, we're presented with another series of options to specify how we want to get started on our form building journey. First, we have the Start from Scratch option. This will require that we, as the form builder, manually add each and every field that we wish to collect data in. Once we become more seasoned at form building, this might not feel so intimidating, but when starting out, this could be a pretty hefty undertaking. So thankfully, we have several options that can help us save some time. The first being our template library. With over 10,000 templates created by us here at Jotform, as well as shared by the larger Jotform user base, you may be able to find exactly what you need, or at least pretty close. You can choose a category from the left-hand side, or search by a keyword to find a template that would work for you. Once a template has been added to your system, you have the ability to further customize or modify it to best fit your needs. For example, if I'm looking for a simple contact form to maybe embed on my website for potential customers to reach out to our sales team, I could search the word contact to pull up a list of examples. From here, I could preview the templates to see what they look like before opting to add them into my system. Once I click Use Template, I will be brought to the form builder to make any additional adjustments I might need. Regardless of the type of form you're hoping to create, I always recommend checking out the template library first, as you may be able to find exactly what you're looking for, or at least come very, very close. Aside from the template library, we also have a few other options you can choose to utilize when creating a new form. The next one being the use of our Smart PDF form functionality. Our Smart PDF forms allow me to upload a document and have it created as an online form. This might be the best option for you if one or several of the following are true. One, you are currently using a paper document that is being manually filled out, returned to you, and filed manually. You're currently using a PDF document that is being emailed back and forth between you, your form filler, and any other relevant parties with the hopes that one of these emails doesn't accidentally get lost in the ether or sent to spam. You might also have a form for number 3 that requires a specific end result format. For example, federal or state tax form that's required to have information displayed on the exact document. To digitize these types of forms or processes, our Smart PDF forms will be your new best friend. Here's how it works. First, we will upload a PDF from our device. If you're working with a hard copy paper document, you'll just need to scan it in and save it as a PDF on your device in order to have it added as a web form. Once the document has been uploaded, the system will do its best to read the field from the PDF and create them as elements on your web form. For our example today, I've already gone ahead and selected a sample file. Over here on my right, I have my file that I uploaded. Zoomed in a little bit here, but you get the idea. Here's the file that I uploaded. And on the left side is going to be the web form version of my document. The way that the Smart PDF functionality works is that it generates elements for each of the fields on the document and directly maps them back to their respective locations from the web form to that original document. This detection mechanism is awesome, but not a perfect science. And some fields might be missed or added to the web form incorrectly at first. If this happens, have no fear. We can add the element and manually map it back to the document. For my example, in my select one question, it generated as just text on my web form. Didn't quite get what I was asking, but that's okay. I can easily drag and drop a single choice question from my elements menu on the left-hand side. And from here, I can drag each of these selectable options to the different areas on my PDF document. Once I've made the necessary adjustments to my web form and correctly mapped it to my PDF, I'm all ready to send this out as a part of my new streamlined and digitized process. Let's take a look at what that actually looks like for the form filler. First, they will see a preview of this document. Once they click Start Filling, they will be able to electronically fill each of these fields. Once they have submitted, their results will generate on my originally uploaded PDF. So just like that, all of my submission data collected on my web form is now available on my original PDF document. I can choose to attach this PDF to an autoresponder or notification email that automatically sends at the time of form submission. I can also choose to integrate with a third-party document storage service to automatically send the PDF there, or I can easily download the completed document right from the system. This saves time, stress, and even some trees if we're digitizing a current paper process. But the functionality of our form builder certainly does not stop there. Let's head back to our create form options to chat about another possibility available to you as a form builder, the ability to import a form. The ability to import a form is used in a variety of different ways, and I'm so excited to share all of those with you today. Once import forms is selected, we're then given additional options, the ability to import from a web page or to clone an existing form in our system. Let's start with the ability to import from a web page. This can be used in several ways. The first is if you're new to Jotform Enterprise and you've potentially utilized other online form building services, you can enter that form URL in here, and our tool will pull the HTML from the previously built form and create it as a Jotform form. Just to note, this will not include any settings from the previous form. It will just simply generate the fillable form fields and give you the ability to customize from there. The second way that this option can be used is to make a clone of a form from within your own server that maybe you're not the owner of, or this form is on a team that you are not a part of. Let's break this down using a real-world example. Another user on my server has built an employee evaluation form to fill out on behalf of their direct reports. This user is not in my department, so I am not on this team where the form lives. However, they have spent the time and attention to build this to our organization standards, and I would like to have a copy of my very own. To accomplish this, I can simply take the form URL and paste it into the URL section of my import screen, like I've done here. Once I click Create Form, it will generate my very own copy of the other user's form. This copy or clone is completely independent of the original version, so any changes I make will not affect the other form's information that's owned by the other user. And then when using a Jotform URL form from within my own server, the settings will retain. So that will include things like form design for the look and feel, any conditional logic, emails, and workflows. All of those things will be retained. I will only be responsible for making edits specific to my use of the form. So that makes it super easy and super efficient, if I may say so myself. Alternatively, there may be a situation in which I need to make a copy of a form I do own, or a form that is on a team that I'm a member of. In this case, I can select clone your existing form to accomplish that. To use another real-world example for this, I've built a new hire equipment agreement form specific to the 2024-2025 hiring season. For the upcoming 2025 to 2026 hiring season, there might be some changes I need to make to prompts and other information in my form. Removing fields will also in turn delete previously entered data from those fields. So in order to retain my data for that year, while also making adjustments for the upcoming hiring season, I can make a clone of my existing form to create an independent copy of the original agreement and make adjustments I need without the fear of compromising my data. To do this, I will select my clone your existing form option and locate that 2024-2025 new hire equipment agreement. Once I select it and click Create Form, that clone will be ready to go, and I can begin updating the data just in time for the hiring season to start. While these are all excellent time savers, they might not encapsulate all of the situations in which form building is necessary or possible. So for our session today, let's start with selecting Start from Scratch to get that full view of the star of our show, again, the form builder. Once selected, we are given another set of options. Creating our form as a classic form in which there is more than one question on our page, though this can be a multiple page form, Or we can opt for a card form where each question will be on its own page, card, slide, however we want to refer to it. This is not a binding question, meaning that if I select a classic form to start and later decide a card form might be better suited for my use case, I can easily change this from the form designer or within my general form settings. Both of these will be discussed in later episodes of this series. Wink, wink. See you there. But for now, let's take a look at a classic form and a card form just to give you an idea of what they look like so you can feel confident in making your decision at this point. Let's take the real world example of an event feedback survey. Collecting this information after a large event is so important. So we want to be sure that it's collected in a way that is easiest and most enticing for the attendee to complete. This is an example of what it will look like on a classic form. All of my questions are listed on one page that is easy and convenient for the attendee to fill out, though it's possibly a bit lengthy, which may deter them in some cases. In contrast, let's take a look at the same feedback survey created as a card form. In a card form, each question is on its own page with a next button. So we can click that to see each of our prompts and be able to answer those as the attendee of the event. There will also be a progress bar at the bottom for the filler to hop around between questions. So this format might be a little bit more engaging depending on your target audience, but ultimately the decision is yours. Both are going to produce the same type of data results once completed. So regardless of which format you choose, the building of the form is our real focus today. So let's pop over to a blank slate classic form to chat about the different elements that make up our forms themselves. To give the full view and experience of our form builder all the way from square one, I have a blank classic form that I'm ready to go ahead and add the questions that I want to ask of my form fillers. All of our forms are made up of elements. These are going to be the various types of questions or prompts that you will have available to build up the entirety of your form. These elements are located over here in my left side menu and consist of basic elements, payment gateways, and widgets. We'll be focusing on the basic elements today, but if you are feeling curious about payment gateways or widgets, I highly recommend heading over to our YouTube channel's Lunch and Learn playlist. You may recognize a familiar face in the episodes covering these topics. Spoiler alert, it is me. But anyway, let's get back to our focus and take a deeper look at some of these basic elements and how we can utilize them in our forms. First, we have what I refer to as static elements. These are used for the collection of a specific type of information. For example, the name field collects a name, email address collects an email address, and the phone number field collects, you'll never guess, a phone number. When I'm ready to add these fields to my form, I have two options. I can either click to add them, one right on top of another, or I can drag and drop the fields to the desired location in the body of my form. Moving down to the second section in our basic elements list, we have what I again refer to as free-form elements. Fields like short text could be used for the collection of any type of information in a short text or alphanumeric format. Long text could be used for a longer form response, possibly a short essay or notes and comments. When adding these fields into my form, I have the ability to click into this text reading, type a question, and type in the information to specify exactly what I'm collecting in this field. Moving down this list, the paragraph element will allow me to add text directly to my form that doesn't need any additional action from the form filler. This could be instructions, a welcome message, important information, maybe a set of terms and conditions they potentially need to review and agree to before submitting, just to give you a few ideas. And then next on our list, we run into our choice elements. This includes our dropdown, single choice, and multiple choice fields. For these fields, we, as the form builder, will provide a list or series of options for the form filler to select from. Both the dropdown and single choice will allow for the selection of one answer from the list, where the multiple choice field will provide more of a select all that apply functionality. Next on this list is our file upload field. This will allow the form filler to attach a file to be included alongside their submission data. In the event of a job application, this could be used for a resume or cover letter, where maybe in an expense report form, this field could be used for uploading receipts to coincide with the entered information. Now that we have a pretty good list of some elements added to our form, let's take a deeper look at some customization options to make these fields even more filler friendly and also ensure that we are collecting good quality responses that meet our data needs. Every element has the ability to be customized. Some of these customization options are going to be available for all elements, like the ability to require a field, and some are specific to the exact field. Let's start up here at our name field to see exactly what I mean. When hovering over my field and selecting the gear icon to open the properties menu, I am given a few general options that I'm able to make to this element. I could update the label. Maybe in this case, I want to have it listed as legal name, or if I'm collecting multiple names on a single form, I can specify that by further labeling the other fields such as emergency contact name, manager name, parent or guardian name, and so on. In the settings for any field, I can also set the label, the alignment of the label, I should say. This could be applied to the whole form by default, or if I uncheck this, it will only be applied to the specific field that I'm working on. As I mentioned previously, I can set this field to be required, meaning that it must be filled out before the filler submits. If they try to submit without filling a required field, they will see an error message and be unable to proceed until the information is being inputted as needed. I could also make an exact copy of a field by duplicating it if maybe I'm collecting the same information later on in the same type of form, or maybe using a duplicate field as maybe a confirmation of their initial entry. Now, here's the fun part. Well, at least I think that it's fun. Each element will have their own customization under the Options tab to make adjustments that are specific to the field type. Continuing in the name example, I'm able to add fields for the collection of middle name, prefix, and suffix without needing to go in and add additional fields for the collection of this data. And I can just swipe the little switch on to make sure that data is collected. Moving to another field, such as short text, under the options menu, I can see that there are slightly different options I can choose to have in place. I could set a validation, which is looking for the specific entry of information in this field. I could also set up a character limit or an input mask to further indicate exactly what I'm looking for in this field to the form filler. For my next set of fields that drop down, single choice, and multiple choice, they also have unique customizations, but in turn, they also share one particular setting that I want to call out that you may or may not be aware of. There may be situations in which information associated with a selection in one of these fields that maybe the form filler doesn't know, doesn't need to know, or we want to avoid the entry by the form filler for the sake of potential human error or typos. This, of course, is the calculation values option. Using a real world example for this, let's head over to another form. This is an employee pulse survey. In this survey, we are using a series of choice elements to collect information that can then be reported company-wide and used to target our internal needs as an organization. At the top of my form, I have a dropdown where the employee is able to select the department that they work in. When the survey is completed, it is the intention that the department head will receive a notification of the completed form. While we could absolutely build individual conditional logic elements for each possible selection, we can also use the calculation values customization to tie an email address to the specific selection, therefore being able to dynamically route the autoresponder email with the survey data to the selected department head. To set this up, we will click Properties again, Options, and scroll down to our calculation values. For our example today, I've already gone ahead and filled in each field with the relevant email address for the corresponding department head for each selectable option. The person filling out this form will only see the provided options listed here on the left and would not see these back-end email value. Hence, this is potentially information they don't know themselves, or maybe they do know, but there's some possibility that they could enter the wrong email address, have a typo, anything like that, that might prevent the correct person from receiving the notification as needed. Using the calculation values would ensure that this wouldn't be the case. Another use of calculation values could be adding the numerical scoring values to options selected in the survey. For my questions, I've added single choice options for things like extremely satisfied, satisfied, neutral, unsatisfied, and extremely unsatisfied, and prefer not to answer. Each of these has a numerical value associated with it to ultimately generate an end total score. The person filling this out does not need to see the associated score value, so having these options in the background works perfectly fine for this use case. So we can go to options. And again, for our example, I've already filled in my numerical values for these. We can then employ the use of the form calculation widget here at the bottom to spit out a total score based on the addition of each of these single choice survey questions. Another option outside of using numerical scoring values as calculation values may be to use our built-in survey elements. Utilizing the scale or star rating elements will automatically generate a numerical score value that could then be pulled into a total calculation. While we won't dive too deeply into the form calculation widget today, I do implore you to go check out the Lunch and Learn titled Most Popular Widgets Part 1, where we do a deeper dive into using and configuring this widget. Selecting options on the form will generate a total score and an average score, and they will change based on the options I'm selecting directly on my questions. And this is also true for the other version where we did use those calculation values. However, we may not want the form filler to see this information directly on the form in the case that it may influence their selections in any way. This brings us back to the form builder to chat about the final section of our element properties menu, the advanced tab. As mentioned in this form, it's crucial to hide the total and average scores from the form filler. However, our organization will still need to utilize the data calculated here to generate various reports and identify score and satisfaction trends amongst our employees. To accomplish this, we need to take 2 steps. First, let's head over to the advanced tab of this field's properties. Down here, we have the ability with the quick flip of the switch to hide the field. Once that has been hidden, It's noted here by the yellow and orange message. But from here, we will also need to head to our form settings, click show more options, and scroll to find the clear hidden value setting. We want to select don't clear in this situation because this will actually retain the value calculated in this widget when the form is submitted, despite that field not being visible to the actual person filling out the form. We're going to head back to our form builder to discuss the final piece that I'll be going over today, which is the layout of our form's prompts. While we had previously mentioned the ability to adjust the label, for example, setting it to the top or potentially to the left-hand side of the actual fillable prompt box, we might want to further adjust it by setting fields to be side by side. In this form, we are collecting both the filler's mobile number and home phone number. Because my form might be quite lengthy already, I want to save space as to not overwhelm the respondent. Heading over to the Advanced tab of my properties, I can switch the shrink option to on, and this will allow the field to only take up half of the total form space, meaning that if we turn shrink on for 2 fields, they would then appear on the form side by side, which will become much easier and more straightforward for that form filler to complete. Oh, I know that was a lot, and that was only the basics, but that should have hopefully given you an idea of how truly expansive, versatile, and powerful our form builder tool truly is. We really went down the full journey of step 1 of form building and actually built the form. We started with an overview today of each of the options when creating a new form, discussed ways that you can save some time in your process by utilizing options such as the template library, smart PDF forms, and importing forms from a URL or from your very own forms list. From there, we explored our ability to start from scratch and build a form as a classic or card form with either multiple questions on a single page or that card form where each individual element is on its own slide with the progress bar at the bottom. Then we got to the real meat of our session and chatted about what exactly makes up a form, the elements. Using the various options in our basic elements menu and customizing them as such will allow any line of business to collect information they need efficiently and electronically. I'm sure looking back now, some of you will agree with my original sentiment. Your favorite part of Jotform Enterprise is, in fact, our tried and true form builder. And I always like to mention this in my lunch and learns, but I am an absolute hands-on learner. So for today's session, I absolutely encourage you to log into the system and think of some ways you can customize your own form elements. And if you have any questions along the way, we are here to help. Which, speaking of questions, if you have any questions specific to the elements that I discussed today or form building at step 1, please feel free to type them into the chat or Q&A if you have not already. If a card form and if you are using a card form and the question is required, can the user click through without answering the questions first? So when clicking through, if you click on a question that's required and try to move away from that question to maybe a different card later on down the progress bar, it will prevent you from clicking away from the card that you are currently on if that field is required. However, if they don't click a required field at all, so let's say they move from the welcome page to a later question in the form without ever clicking on a required question, they would be able to, in theory, surpass the required, but before submitting, they would need to go back in and answer that required question. And then another question is, can we save our own templates and add them to the template library? So yes, actually in the Publish tab of the form builder under Quick Share, you'll click Share this form, and you'll have the option to save the form as a template for future use. But we will also be chatting more about that in depth in episode 3 of this basics series, all about the Publish tab in just a few weeks. And then is there a limit to the amount of elements that I can add to a form? So no, in a Jotform enterprise system, there is no limit to the amount of elements you can add. Depending on the length of your form, we do give the option to add a page break element, or you'll see an add new page here option on the form builder itself to create multiple pages of a classic form. And then so the other question was, is there a way to have completed forms print to a page format? So yes, if you are utilizing either the smart PDF that we saw in an example today or not, you still have the ability to generate a PDF of your responses that can then be printed out and filed or used as needed in your organization. And then also there was a question about recording. So yes, this is being recorded and will be made available on our YouTube channel as well. And then that looks like that is the end of questions today. If there are any questions that we didn't get to, definitely reach out to our support team for those questions. Were there any questions from the YouTube live stream from marketing?
No, looks like no questions on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to thank everyone again for being with me here today. On our next session together in just 2 weeks, we'll be walking through some tools that you have at hand to best optimize your Jotform enterprise experience. But then after that, we'll be revisiting this basic series to chat about all things form settings. You definitely don't want to miss that one. If you have any questions that we didn't get to today, as I mentioned, please reach out to our enterprise sales team or to our awesome support team if you are already an enterprise user. You can find more Lunch and Learns, webinars, walkthroughs, and quick video guides also on our YouTube channel and our website. We will have some great Lunch and Learn sessions coming up, as I've previously mentioned, and those are going to be building on each other. So please ensure that you are registered for these sessions and getting excited for future sessions by visiting us at jotform.com/enterprise/lunch and learn sessions. I'm looking so forward to seeing you all again in our next session. Bye.